Thank you, Satine. Thank you for all the wonderful patient advocates here on the call. Jake, I've seen some of the adaptive golfers play golf, and I think they could kick my butt. So kudos to you um, for what you're doing. I think that's amazing. Congressman Guthrie, I'm very happy and proud to announce that he was yesterday elected to serve as the full committee chairman of the Energy and Commerce Committee. So in addition to his work in the healthcare subcommittee as the current chairman, he'll have broad jurisdiction over energy and commerce and telecommunications and other technology related issues. So it's an exciting time here in the Guthrie office, and we're really excited to hit the ground running on behalf of patients, their families, the wonderful innovators that are taking risks every day to try to get cures to market as soon as possible. One of the things that that's incredibly important to Congressman Guthrie is access, as Rafi said, access to cell and gene therapies. We're at the precipice of a complete revolution in healthcare like we've never seen before. And we really kind of have to answer a few really important questions. One, is the FDA doing enough to try to be as flexible as it can be to get drugs to market? And two, what are we doing once those drugs are on the market, once they are approved by the FDA? And the second question is one that Congressman Guthrie has been working tirelessly on over the past several years to try and make sure that patients on Medicaid have access to gene therapy specifically. The Medicaid program, as some of you may know, requires drug manufacturers to provide pretty significant discounts in order to participate in the program. And for some of these high-cost cell and gene therapies, I think the most recent approval, the drug is priced at about $4 million a dose. And for some of those manufacturers, it's really hard to say, we just invested hundreds of millions of dollars in this drug, in developing this drug, and then we're going to sell it at a pretty significant discount and not for a smaller patient population and not be able to use any sort of revenues that are generated from those drug sales to then reinvest in future cures. So we put our heads together working with the Trump administration at the time and then the Biden administration and our Democrat colleagues to produce a piece of legislation. It's known as the MVP Act. And basically it would allow for drug manufacturers to contract with state Medicaid programs or managed care organizations. So the plans that are managing the Medicaid benefits for those patients or for beneficiaries to draw up a value-based agreement, a value-based contract. And what that could say is, a patient that's receiving a gene therapy, if the patient would have to meet certain benchmarks in order for the manufacturer to get paid for that drug, and they could get paid higher than they normally would. So they would receive, a larger reimbursement than the statutorily mandated discount that they ordinarily would have to provide. And if the drug, if the patient doesn't respond to a drug like the manufacturer thought the patient may respond, then the manufacturer would be on the hook, and the manufacturer would have to eat those costs. And so that's something that we've been really, really aggressively trying to push for over the past 2 years. In particular, the bill did pass out of the full Energy and Commerce Committee. We've been working over the past several weeks to try to make sure it's included in any sort of continuing resolution or to get something done during the lame duck. If that doesn't happen, that's going to be one of the top priorities for us next Congress, because to be able to give patients, their families, even state Medicaid programs, policymakers, and manufacturers certainty long term that there's going to be a system in place for patients to be able to access the drugs as quickly as possible. And so that's one thing that we've done over the past several years. It's been, I think, 6 years at this point that we've been working on it. And so, we're this close. And if we have to, go back to the drawing board in a few weeks next Congress, we absolutely will, because it's that important to us. The other thing that Congressman Guthrie has been historically tried to do in working with FDA is address some of the, I guess you could call them cultural issues within the agency. There's the center directors tend to take a little bit more risk, but unfortunately the reviewers tend to be a little bit more risk averse. And so what does that mean for patients? It means that a manufacturer who is submitting an application for a gene therapy might get put on a clinical hold. And that clinical hold, which basically just means your application is sort of in no man's land, it just sits there. And that's obviously dollars and cents that aren't being spent on research and development and trying to get, working with patients, families, and clinical trials. And so Congressman Guthrie's tried to conduct, I think, the appropriate amount of oversight with the agency, talking directly to the center directors, directly to the FDA commissioner, and also working with his colleagues in Congress to, in the form of oversight letters, to try and make sure that the FDA knows that Congress has their backs, that we would like them to be a little bit more risk-taking, and to try to find creative ways to work with patients on really, really complex conditions. So we're going to continue that work, no question about it. Just looking ahead, as crazy as it seems to look into 2027, it really is right around the corner. And we're going to have to reauthorize the user fee agreements. And that will provide a really, really important opportunity for Congress to work with patient advocates, their families, doctors, anyone across the healthcare system that's working in the rare disease space, to try to find solutions, legislative, policies that we can support going into the user fee reauthorization, to make sure that the FDA, one, has the tools they need, and two, is held to account. And so we're going to be calling on you all over the next several months and years to try to help identify where the shortcomings are within the agency and maybe within, statute, and trying to find those creative solutions if necessary to legislate on the issues. So that's one thing that we're going to be working on, pretty hard. And then, I think Congressman Guthrie is a huge supporter of innovation and getting life-saving treatments to patients, and even treatments that can, improve the overall quality of life for a patient and their family, and their families. So, for example, I think one of the things that the congressman has been very outspoken on is trying to address some of the disincentives that were created in the Inflation Reduction Act, in Medicare in particular. And although, this many rare disease patients are kids, unfortunately, because of the way that the law is structured, it's really forced manufacturers and innovators to make decisions to move away from research and development in rare disease drugs, and into more clinically proven drugs with larger patient populations that can get to market sooner and help drive revenues, for those patients like cancers and other diseases. So we're going to be working on trying to conduct oversight over the IRA, and making sure that we're not creating disincentives, and we're able to get cures to market for patients like you all and others as quickly as possible. So we've got a pretty, I think, ambitious and important agenda, and we're looking forward to working with you all to help accomplish everything that we want to accomplish together.